What's going on, everybody? This is Josh over at Mousepadentertainment. Here we have Alex. I messed up the intro last time and said your name wrong, which was very embarrassing. So that's why this intro is just a little wacky tacky, but I wanted to phrase it differently.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's technically third podcast, but second official. You guys will see it in the playlist. Um, what have you been up to?
Well, it has been an interesting month, pretty much, about like half a month or so, a few weeks. Let me ask you, Josh, what was the first co-op game you ever played?
Wow, just going right thick onto it. Okay.
Yeah.
No, yeah, today we're going to talk about co-op games, and that was great. No, some people can't even remember, but I will always have burned in my brain the visuals of Sonic 2 on like a TV from the early 80s, playing a Sega, was it Dreamcast or Genesis? I think it was Genesis. I think that was the first or the second one, I forget. But it was Sonic 2. I do remember that. And then my cousins had a NES system, and then we played Super Mario Brothers, and it kind of like then jumped from like you said. I think yours was GoldenEye, right?
Mine's GoldenEye, 007 GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64.
So that was my first co-op game. Um, like competition co-op, like where it's an arena shooter. Until then, you were pretty much working as a team no matter what. This was fun to actually fight your friends, but also you could like screen sniping was invented. And for anyone who's not in the know, screen sniping is when you look at your buddy's screen, whether they're a teammate or not. It does not matter. You're on the same TV, so it's kind
So
of
you
just
know
a
where they are.
moral. It's a moral decision at that point.
And
Oh,
then if you're doing too good, they're still gonna accuse you of doing it anyway.
right. Um, And then it jumped to co-op shooters for me, and we'll talk about those. But today, we're going to be talking about co-op games. Hey, look, there's a theme. Who would have guessed? But yeah, no, we're going to talk about co-op games and how they've changed, what our memories of them, what was good and bad about them. And there's, I'll always bring up, like, I'll be the devil's advocate on both sides of that coin. But yeah, what do you remember about GoldenEye? Like, what was something that?
Honestly, the biggest thing that I still remember is those big old pixels. The graphics on those games.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
the nostalgia, right?
Oh yeah, but at the same time, oh my god, it was like the ugliest version of those
Uh-huh.
pixels at the time.
With
Like,
no defining characteristics, like a face is just a square.
oh, it really is. It's like, oh, because it was Nintendo 64 trying to do a 3D renditioning of Pierce Brosnan, and anyone who's listening to this who did not actually play the game, it is not what you're envisioning. It is not Minecraft modded on Pierce Brosnan James Bond. It's lanky Slender Man with a Walter PPK.
It's literally giving like Laura Croft Tomb Raider triangle boobs.
I would even say Lara Croft has better human pixelation of faces. At least,
In the
no, I
face,
mean, no,
yeah.
seriously, like the faces were actually
You're
in
absolutely right.
comparison. But that was a later game, so we have to
Mhm.
give it a little. Like this was revolutionary at the time,
Yeah.
right? Because anything else was cartoony. Like Mario Party came out the same time, and oh my, look how awesome it looks. I'm like, yes, because you're not trying to render real life. That is a
Yeah.
very hard thing to do. As people at Rockstar, who did Red Dead Redemption 2?
Alright, well, that was Rockstar.
Yeah, Rockstar. Um, they kind of have mastered the limit of let's make this real looking. Of course, it's still going to look a little like a video game in order to have fun with it, because at that point you're playing Detroit Become Human.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just mocap suits and really finite details, not a huge free range interactive world where you can pull out your pistol and shoot any place, and then there will be a bullet hole there, right? Like there's a difference between a movie where you can just choose something that is not animated in, right? You get what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's a difference between like interactive. That's why people actually don't even call. Some people argue that those games are not games; they're interactive movies.
Mhm.
I would argue that it's because it depends on which one you're playing. I would argue on that regard that Heavy Rain was. Heavy
Yes,
Rain didn't have a lot
absolutely.
of choices, and it was badly. Everyone knows who's looked behind the scenes and like who's actually like paid attention to it. The pacing is weird. You could tell the story like was changed 3/4 in because it just kind of comes out of nowhere. I'm not going to ruin it for anybody, but you are
Jacob!
either going to be that's really cool, or you think about it for 5 more minutes and you go, that's actually disappointing. Never mind. Um, but yes, is there like different endings? Sure, but not really. It's more
It's
of
still gonna get where it wants you to go.
right, but like because it's the ending, you can always change the ending at the last second. It kind of is one of those rules where like yes, but it's literally like the last four things are important, and that's really it.
Mhm.
Everything else is just kind of nah, nah. Um, the other ones though that were created, especially Detroit Become Human, I would say are, and even they're like clones. I would argue are much more like they're actually video games,
Mhm.
right?
Especially when you consider that if you played in a certain mode, if you end up killing one of the characters, there's a way to play it where like you just stop playing that storyline
Yep.
unless you go back and you change your decision.
Yep. No, 100%. And I love doing that. That's always funny for me because I was like, huh, what happens if like,
What if I do this thing that I know is gonna get me killed?
well, like, what happens if I just make sure that there's Clara, there's Connor, Marcus? What happens if I just kill Marcus as quickly as I can?
Because spoiler alert, he's the one that pretty much is the face of the uprising.
Except you can continue the entire game with Clara, and
And
Connor.
Connor.
Yeah.
So it just like takes away an entire element of the game that makes it part of what it is.
Yes. But if you get rid of Clara early, then Connor actually doesn't have certain leads. You actually can,
Really?
yeah, there are like major key points where you, like, they don't do it often, but there are major key points where certain characters that you play as separately will inter meet.
Like their
And
decisions will have an effect on what the other one experiences.
exactly. So,
Okay.
like, for instance, spoiler alert for the game, but when you play as Marcus, you start an uprising and you go into a news studio. And depending on how you do things there, the evidence when you show up later as Connor, the detective android, will have limits or more challenges, per se.
Or there could be more, like more evidence to collect.
Usually it's actually less. It's actually
Oh.
kind of funny. If you're more passive, there's less evidence. It's really funny. It's kind of the whole like if you play a stealth game, you actually don't want to make a mess. You kind of just
Mm-hmm.
want to do one move, not get caught. You do the thing, and then you're out of there, and you just feel satisfied doing that. It's a little like that when you're playing that specific mission,
Mm-hmm.
but that is not the vibe of the game. That's just that specific mission. You're not trying to kill people at a news studio. You're trying to put out a message that you want freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like you want there to be the game's going to fight you for it. And that's why it's a video game, is that it actually pretty good quick time events. Most quick time events in games are kind of odd, sudden, and the controls aren't good, or the UI doesn't show it well, or
Mm-hmm.
it shows it too late.
Yeah, I really appreciated how they used because I played on PlayStation the first time I played it.
Yeah,
Um
same.
and they have like the touchpad and they utilize the touchpad for like turning pages or you go up and over and stuff
Uh,
like that. And I really appreciated that aspect because it just gave it a more futuristic feel even just playing it.
no, absolutely. Like they did a really good job. When PlayStation knows how to utilize their like controller technology, holy crap, did they have good experience,
Mhm.
right? The first time I saw that was actually in Witcher when I was playing it, and you could just on the touchpad just swipe down and you're in your map.
Mhm.
And strangely, that is kind of how it works because whenever you're in your menu and you're in any section for the most part, if you slam down enough, you'll go into your map, depending on what button you're over. Most of the
Mhm.
time, when you start pause, you're just over map, so you just hit down, you're done. So it's kind of fun to just do that subconsciously. Like, okay, where am I going? Right. Okay. It's because it's kind of like that when you're actually like when you're doing hiking and you're also trying to pathfind and make sure you're going the right place, and it's a little intimidating. So you're like, wait, okay, hold on. There's no fast travel. I actually have to do this now. There's a level of like they made it too easy. I think they made giving you a horse. I think sometime limits you to the traversal side of video games, if that makes any
Mhm.
sense. Don't get me wrong, if you have to go through a wide expanse and there's really nothing there, yeah, you kind of want a horse segment or horse for that area. But I don't know, making like a timer go for like the horse, like the horses run away, you have to wait a certain amount of time, would have actually fixed that. Because there were some points when I'm just traveling on foot. Because when you're on the horse and you get smacked really bad, you fall off the horse. If the horse gets really scared, you fall off the horse. So like it's better to be on your feet sometimes when you're trying to also encounter monsters and bandits and you're like, yeah, I'm not just running past this, I'm gonna finish what I start kind of mindset.
Mhm.
So why would I be cavalry? Right? It's not like I'm a heavy armor knight. It doesn't play like that. I'm better on my feet. Um so that was a good example of what not to do in games, and co-op games do kind of the same thing. Co-op games are guilty of every like it sometimes it can be an evolutionary thing. Like for instance, I don't have much gripe about how Sonic does co-op because they made Tails kind of like invincible.
Mhm.
Like yeah, Tails has his own rings, and or sometimes it's shared, but if Tails dies, it doesn't take away a life. Now I forgot if they changed that.
I never played Sonic.
Okay, but originally I know 100% in Sonic 2, like I would have I think it was either I think we switched it up a lot with Sonic. You're gonna hear a lot of, like my little brother. Um we we're 8 years apart, so like I was like 12 and he was like 4. So I introduced him to like video games and stuff, and he became kind of like my little co-pilot for a lot of it, and kind of learned a lot. And that's cute. I probably wasn't the best big brother on some aspects when I would get mad about a video game, and I always will be embarrassed about that. Don't worry, we've apologized and all the trauma that I probably caused that kid. Uh, but no, it was we did play Sonic together, and he always played Tails. And I think I remember I sometimes did it, but essentially the fact that his mistakes didn't cost us a life. That was kind of the idea. Like I was better at avoiding damage. I'm like, just go. You don't have to worry about your life. Like the
Yeah,
worst
you
thing you have to
didn't
do
have
is
to
like
unplug his controller because it didn't matter anyway.
that's cute. But no, like that's actually the advantage of Tails is that you can just send him like a
Mhm.
missile. Like because if he dies, it doesn't matter. 10, 15 seconds, he's back on the field. It's hilarious. So, um, then Mario Brothers definitely had their own lives. I remember that.
Mhm.
Luigi and Mario have their own separate lives. So if Colin goes down, he's kind of down. So, um, what was after that? I mean, I played Sega, like the other Sonics as later with my friends in the same era that you're talking about with GoldenEye.
Nintendo. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when Sega was like in their prime and like about to fall off. Like it's kind of sad how that worked. But honestly, when PlayStation and Xbox came to town, then it was kind of I don't
Yeah,
know
because
what
like the
happened.
next one on my list is I think Halo.
Yeah, like it really was just immediately into Microsoft PlayStation land, like Sony land.
Mhm.
Nintendo's still kicking, but Sega kind of lost a lot of its juice.
Yeah.
Um, and that's sad because I actually had more of a fondness for Sega games than Nintendo. But watch the documentary sometime. What is it called? Um, but it's about the development of video games over time, all the way back to like Tetris and Pong. You know, they talk about the you know the old interviews and written interviews of those people as well. It's interesting to watch how that all developed, but it's always been a level of versus or survival or score acquisition. So how do you make something fun co-op? Well, you have to have it to where you're both after the same thing, whether that be competitively or cooperatively, like as a team. And
Mhm.
so, what was the next best thing? But what our proud little military does, which is cooperative shooters. That's a terrible way to say that, but anyway. It's true. Have you ever played Arma? It's essentially military simulator. It really is. It's insane. You get hit in the chest twice, you're gone. Um, so Halo, well, oh my gosh, the LAN parties. Do you remember those?
I never had any until I was in like my late teens, early 20s to do stuff like League of Legends, but I have had LAN parties, but not for Halo.
Yeah, it was definitely high school was Halo and Warcraft 3 had like a resurgence, but that was mostly in my later high school years. Until then, it was definitely Halo, and Halo 2 was the big one that kind of kicked off a new like resurgence for like wanting to have story and epicness in a shooter. Like you can
Mhm.
actually have that. As strange as that is, people are like, "What? You can have like operatic and epicness stuff? It's always like that." Like, no, there was once upon a time where every game was very um, and they tried their best with synthesizers and other things, and sometimes they were able to like get a really good, MP3 music file into that, where it can be good. I mean, like some of the music still to this day is rocked out. I mean, Legends of the Ocarina of Time, Gerudo Valley. I have heard thousands of different guitarists play that electric guitar style and just go to town with it. It's really cool. Castlevania, what is it?
There's
Here's a
actually
Here's of Blood is that song, and it's always ripped on by a lot
yeah,
of
I think
guitars.
that's the one that's in so I played Super Crazy Rhythm Castle and there's like little like old school game like that you because it's a rhythm game. So
Yeah.
like you can pick up like old school game cartridges and play one of the songs from there and that I think that was the Castlevania song that was the option.
Oh, it's really good. I love that song. But like you're also introducing co-op and multiplayer, and as far as Microsoft's early issues with like faulty hardware or sometimes the game's not finished, yes, Halo 2 was, to say it was unfinished is a lie because it was finished, but to the bare minimum. But
Mhm.
that's the difference of people now going, "Oh, it's not finished." No, it's broken. When Cyberpunk released, it was broken. Halo 2 had everything it needed. I think it might have needed an online. They later released a like DLC map pack, but they sold it on disc and it was just one pack.
Mhm.
Yeah, imagine that. No loot boxes, no like multiple maps that you have to buy. Just one, like, oh yeah, real quick. We're working on
Back
Halo
when you
3. Do you
didn't
mind
need to
supporting us? We made some extra maps. Oh, dude, yeah, absolutely. It's $15. Sure.
yeah, back when you didn't need to buy DLC just to like understand like half of the game that you're trying to play.
Right. Um, but Halo does a good job of kind of, because there were books released, but you didn't need them.
Mhm.
Destiny did the opposite. They're like, oh, here's our website. Go read the lore, and then you can shoot stuff, and then you'll understand what you're shooting. But we're not going to explain it to you in the video game. Like that is the dumbest way you could have ever introduced a lore concept. Like that was sad because it actually was a really good game.
Mhm.
And it really did have a. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm saying that they have a very strong fan base, and maybe it's a personal bias, but I don't really like my lore dump being done only through text unless it's an old game or if it's like
A MOBA.
RPG style. You know what I
Because
mean?
I was thinking like League of Legends, like you have to like actually go and read the lore for the champions that you want to.
Yeah,
And like they have their own different factions, but like aside from like some of them that know each other in the lore, like making little like special comments and stuff,
yeah,
there's no real like revelation of the lore
yeah.
unless you go and you find it. And it just seems like a chore. Like I'm really interested in the lore, but like I need it in an audio book.
A story should want to be told, and if you don't have that, all you have is filler.
hmm
And
Which it's another great thing why they released Arcane because that helped with a lot of like the lore questions and it was really entertaining and there's a reason that it blew up.
sure, there's also like a small percentage of people like me that don't have any issue. It's more of, oh, it's a movie about a game that when you play the game, it doesn't still have lore. Do you see, like, you kind of shot yourself in the foot I'm happy you gave me crutches, but you still shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
Um, and that's not bashing the people who made Arcane. Like I'm more so just saying it's a concept, not a pointing a finger at you and saying you're bad. It's more of
Mhm.
damage is done. Sorry, this is what you just gotta live with it. I'm not mad at you, but
But honestly, like for them, they kind of like flipped it into like a positive thing because like it blew up so much because like they threw twists and turns in there that
yeah,
like we didn't really know from reading the lore until we actually watched the show, and they were able to capitalize off of it, and they're coming out with more seasons now and focusing on other things. And it's really interesting, especially as someone who's been playing it, because I didn't play it when it first came out. Like I actually remember I used to judge one of my ex-boyfriends for playing it, and now I play
I don't play it. I hear that I would be so. We'll talk about why I don't play League, but some other time.
it.
No, we kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent there, but per se, because of what co-op games kind of inspire, because Arcane kind of inspired the video game slash nerd lore going somewhat animated. Like secret level would not be a thing. Um, I give some credit for Critical Role getting Vox Machina, a D&D game that's actually popular by itself, a own Amazon show, but Arcane kind of did it for the video game side of things instead of the TTRPG.
Yeah,
Like
because
at
like
least
we
like
had
the pioneer.
Cyberpunk, because we had Cyberpunk, but it wasn't specifically about the characters that you play in the game.
Right. And you had Miles Morales' new Spider-Man movie series ish that has kind of inspired a new art style of how you can portray fiction without lowering standards of, oh, it's just animated. Everyone wants real life. Like, no, not
Mhm.
necessarily. Just make it
Make it
really
good.
unique, really good story you could follow and it's entertaining. Like, there's different ways you can enjoy the same lore. You
Mhm.
know, Cyberpunk Edge Runners did a great job with that when it came to gameplay. But we're also getting off track again when it comes to co-op games.
So easy.
It's very easy to get off track. Um,
Okay, so do you want to talk about like the reason why we want to bring up co-op games, like, and what we're excited to eventually play?
uh, yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
So, one of the reasons why we wanted to discuss co-op gaming is because Split Fiction just recently came out, which is made by Hazelight Studios, is the same studio that produced A Way Out and It Takes Two, which did get
Okay,
Game of the Year. And I played through it, and it is so good. I loved it so much.
so what's the different aesthetic? Like, It Takes Two is a fractured husband and wife about to get a divorce, become
Yeah, so
miniature.
they become like they take over the bodies of their daughter's toys, and they have to work together to get back to her and like go along this journey with the book of love that
Right.
like huh?
No, you're not right. Like we're describing It Takes Two, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then like he kind of like pushes them, like he makes their journey harder because he wants them to have to work together and to realize like teamwork, cohesion, like all of these different tools that like a marriage would require to be able to get back to their daughter, back to their bodies, and be able to do the divorce that they want to go through. But like I'm sure, as you can guess, by the end of it they're like, let's not. But so it was really good. They're completely different animation styles
Okay.
because yeah, they both have like realistic aspects. But because It Takes Two is meant to be like it's toys, it's games, and it's like
Right.
it's a little bit more on the cartoony side.
Right. Whimsical.
Yeah, but it still has like good graphics to where like it still looks somewhat realistic.
Right.
And I think that's a big thing for Split Fiction that just came out, is while yes, you can still tell it's a game, it has a lot more realism to it because it's like actual people that you're playing.
What do you mean by it's actual people that you're playing?
Whereas like in It Takes Two, they're in the bodies of like little toys. So, but here,
I
like
thought they were just turned into small versions of themselves as toys.
so their daughter had made like little figurines to like represent each of them. Their names are
Okay.
Cody and May, and so there's a little May doll and there's a little Cody doll,
Right.
and they take over the bodies of those toys. Whereas in split fiction, it's about writers. It's a sci-fi writer and a fantasy writer, and they go into like this little program that's supposed to help get them published for
Okay.
one, but it takes them into the world of their stories, so they're playing as themselves in their stories.
Oh, that's cool.
Mhm.
Okay. And I think I actually have seen the poster advertisement of it now that you've described that, because I'm like, okay, one is definitely like 80s cyberpunk, and the other is like whimsical princess level
With a
fantasy
dragon, yeah.
with the dragon. Yeah. If I'm not, is that pretty much the aesthetic?
Basically, yeah. So the way it works is like you go back and forth between the worlds, because like I don't want to like spoil it because it
Right.
just came out, but like you go back and forth between the worlds. Instead of mini games, because It Takes Two did actual mini games where you like try and like beat each other to get the higher score. So instead of mini games, what Split Fiction did was they would have side stories. So each author would have like stories that they like, their first story that they wrote, or like a story that they wrote when this event in their life happened. And so while you're going through the sci-fi or the Dragonland, you can enter a side story and like complete it real quick, but you're still working together instead of trying to get like a higher score than the other person.
Gotcha. So it's true co-op instead of a level of
It's
competitiveness.
very like it's only co-op, like you are only working together the whole time.
Okay. Fair enough. I mean, yeah, it is kind of funny. Like Split Fiction actually has like competitive natures inside of it. That's cute.
Mhm.
Um. All right. Neat. So what about the mechanic of the two worlds? Like, is it where you're jumping back and forth all the time, or what is going on?
So you can't trigger it. It's so the way that it works, while I'm not trying to give too much away, um, so things go wrong,
As
which is
always.
which is how they are both in each other's worlds.
Okay.
So their names are Mio and Zoe. So Mio's the sci-fi writer, Zoe's the fantasy writer. So they'll both be in the sci-fi world, and Mio's telling you about like how this is what this story is about. This is like basically what we'll have to do to get through it. And then they'll get to what in the system is a glitch. And when they access the glitch, they'll go through like a little extra thing, and then they'll get dropped into Zoe's land of fantasy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so when you're not in that other person's dream, the other person is a narrator.
Mm-mm, they're both there together.
Okay.
Because so the way that It Takes Two happened was you got tools, and that your tools like kind of worked together. Like you had like, so like one person would have a hammer and the other person would have nails, so like
Gotcha.
they would use their tools like cohesively, to be able to get through the levels and to proceed. But the way that split fiction happens is, like in one instance when you're in Zoe's fantasy land, um, you have the ability to turn into a tree or a fairy. And Mio has the ability to turn into either a little water creature or a big old monkey. So, like, as
Okay.
the tree, you can like control the vines and bring them down so that Mio, as the monkey, can like swing over to the next platform.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Interesting. Weird.
It was very different, but it was so great. I loved it.
What about Sci-Fi Land?
So in sci-fi, there's a part where they have these little balls that they can control, and Zoe's ball can, what was it? I can't specifically remember what hers does, which is really sad because she was the one that I played.
Oh, then you're doing a bad job.
And Mio's thing could like, it could deconstruct itself and turn into like little tiny spiders
Yeah.
to like make like a parachute to like flow up on like a wind draft that's blowing up.
Right.
And so like it was just like they have different abilities. Like they never had the same exact ability, but like they still were able to work together. Like the sci-fi world obviously had a lot more like shooting. Like there's guns that you have like while you're there. Um but yeah, it's just different abilities that are supposed to you're supposed to work cohesively to get through it, and it's just puzzle solving at that point.
So it's not even the sci-fi world. You would say it's more puzzles than combat.
No, not necessarily. Because there would be shooting to get to the puzzles,
Oh,
and there are still like boss fights and everything. Like you have to shoot the bosses and like get their health down, and then like the boss will start like hitting specific areas and you have to dodge them, or like you have to like do this and then do this to be able to make the boss vulnerable for you to be able to hit them.
okay. I mean, yeah,
So it's just mixing together a lot. Like because of your abilities, you have to solve the puzzles to get to the next spot, but you also have to work together once you like get to the boss and stuff like that.
gotcha. That's gonna be interesting.
You're gonna
All
love
right, yeah,
it.
I'm down. I'm down. Um, yeah, because my stints for like good like co-op where you're actually working with somebody sadly has been like either Minecraft I don't count necessarily, that's more of a simulator, but you can work together to build things and do other tasks. Um Gears of War, actually. From specifically like just the Xbox for the longest time. I honestly wonder what's the day that they're gonna release and it goes to PlayStation. Um but Gears of War was more on the it's got a hand hit like fisted vibe of grunge, like early 2000s grunge shooter, but it was the combat system and the best way I could describe as the weight of your movement and actions. Like you felt the weight of your characters, you felt the weight of the weapons, you felt the weight of a round hitting an enemy and like the level of impact that did because it always had really good ragdoll effects that when so like when something ragdolls there is a lot of a chance where it loses. Like you have to calculate that mass because your eyes are used to that thing walking around a certain way with a
Hmm.
certain amount of mass already. And so when you ragdoll, you really have to like replicate 100% how gravity works on every limb and body and how it affects like it touching other surfaces and doing things. And strange enough, the bodies, even though they're not human, they ragdoll probably like remember these are also bulky, so it's not like it's exactly like a human's, but it felt very organic, where you're like, okay, this is definitely like that felt real, even if you can clearly see it was animated.
Hmm.
But the co-op itself, the game kind of focused on it, but you could play single player, right? You can 100% play single player. But when you play co-op, it's kind of cool because in single player, you'll like if you just play the game in single player, you'll realize, oh, this could be really neat. Because you'll get to a section where it goes, oh, okay, 4-man team split into two. Two take up high, two take down low. Which one do you choose, single player? But when you're playing co-op, you can choose to go on either both the upside or both the downside, or you can split it. And it's really funny to have the sniper being your buddy, being like, "Oh yeah, I'm spotting somebody. There's a dude about to flank you to the left." So you're like, "Oh, thanks, man!" Like, and you now know, and your sniper can take the guy who's actually coming at you from the front. So it does become a little more dynamic of that. They do that a lot. Essentially, they have like some scripted areas and others where it's just fun to be in the trenches
Hmm.
because it's very much a cover system shooter. Some shooters are more arcadey, meaning you're flying around the map. Some shooters are more tactical, and a tactical shooter is usually like first Call of Duty, Battlefield. Take your pick. It's the look down the sight. You're first person. You're moving around. You're doing the best you can from first person perspective. Gears of War had a weird third person, but yet fast paced. Like usually when you're playing third person games, it's you're fast paced and you're shooting around the map with like super speed. This was fast paced on how quickly you make decisions on coming out of cover, watching the enemies move from cover to cover because it was just like a imagine paintball setups where it's just a bunch of sandbags facing each other. And so a lot of battles were different variations of that, but that's how their battle maps played because it was their big thing of the cover system. So like if I got on one side of this desk and you were on the other side, I could and you weren't fast enough, I can just jump over the cover and just put my gun to your head and blast you on a live view, YouTube regulations. But uh and then yeah, I take your ammo and stuff, but I'm now on the other side of the cover where people can now hit me. Um, so it does get also fun when you can actually not press aim and you just press fire, like shoot your gun, and your
Mhm.
character will just be like, okay. And so you can just unaccurately pop rounds, but if someone advances on you, that cone gets narrower of bullets.
Mhm.
So you start actually getting peppered with shot. It's just a very inaccurate shot, but it's really funny because you're third person. So if someone just advances without knowing a light ambush, everyone could just pull out their gun without going around cover and just start popping shots. And at best, you're hurt. At worst, you were on low health already and winging it, and you went down. It's really funny. Um, so cover is kind of a big thing, and playing with co-op makes it a lot easier. And my brother wasn't the best when it came to 3D shooters like Halo or Call of Duty at first. He didn't have a knack for it, right? But he had a knack for Gears of War based off like how their camera system was and how simplified their combat was because it wasn't a bunch of guys running all over the map and a bunch of crazy things. It was very grounded in front of your face of what's going on. And
Mhm.
because like it's still big-ish, but you have to play it to understand it. It doesn't feel small, but it's small enough of a map to be controlled and easily observed, right? And so it wasn't overwhelming. Um, and so we played that storyline, and that was a dark storyline too, but it was worth it. Yeah, we played for that all the time. I heard, I think me and him played like three Gears of War 3 once, and we were like, okay, it's all right. Like it pretty much is like let's redo the third story, let's add some characters that we were like, oh yeah, they've been there the whole time, backstory, blah blah blah. It was very heavy handed and forced, but not forced as in it was cringe. It was forced as in it was like, yeah, we can tell you like faked it till you maked it on this one, but it's not bad. It just comes out of left field. um so how like a good movie can also, you're like, this is kind of dumb but I like it, it's kind of one of those. uh but yeah, no, until then, like I saw couch co-op dying. And that was actually one of the reasons that we even started this, was talking about how couch co-op games are essentially, well, they're now doing a resurgence, but
Yeah,
they
they're
were,
coming back.
but I remember when they first were like, oh yeah, it's online only, it's multiplayer only online. And I think I remember me and my brother were very excited to get Dead Island because they kept on advertising it was co-op, but they never said it was only online co-op. There was a lawsuit.
Mm.
So they that was kind of like the end of anyone advertising wrong information on the back of a case. That was the final straw. It wasn't like, oh, it was like a moral thing when it came to gore or explicit images or ideas. It was like, no, you said it, you mechanically said it was on, it was like local Loki, like on the Xbox case it will tell you with colors. If it's just green, that's local also. That's just like your local Xbox, what it can do. And it said
Mhm.
multiplayer. And then it had the blue circle on the back that said online
Online.
multiplayer. And it turns out there is no local multiplayer. You have to have another Xbox.
Bruh.
Dirty. Yeah.
Although speaking of older games and co-ops making a comeback, Steam recently did a sale for the Left 4 Dead games, and those are making a comeback as well.
Oh yeah. And Russian Badger has done like a good video on it, and like a bunch of people have done like good content on it because it's easily moddable.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to get into it. I tried playing on PC. I hate it. It's because I grew up with just Xbox 360.
And I did it with controller. I didn't even try mouse and keyboard.
Like they have to incorporate better. controller, or maybe there's a way to do it yourself, but I
What, like
hate,
the mapping?
yeah, doing the mapping. That
Oh.
sucks. It
Well,
doesn't feel the same.
so with Steam, you can because you can manually change the controller input through the Steam settings before you launch the game. So you can do that if you're playing it through Steam.
Okay, yeah, which is what I am. So there we go, win-win. And then like that same company tried doing the vampire version of Left 4 Dead, and it just tanked. And I do feel a little bad for some game developers that are just like, we don't know what you want. You guys are very picky. It's like, yeah, that's kind of true. But we can go into that some other time when it comes to like trying to satisfy consumers. Today's co-op gaming, but yeah, not all co-op games are good, and some of them have flaws. Everything I think does. For instance, sometimes it's not even a flaw; it's more of just it's a feature that's not there. So, for instance, old school Sonic, you had to start the game from scratch every time. Like it
Mhm.
wasn't you could load a save file where you were located. So playing on co-op, you then have to get your buddy all the way there too. Um, and that came up for some games until memory cards became kind of a thing. And I believe 64.
It had like the little so it had memory cards and it had like wireless options and stuff that you plugged into the back of it.
Yeah,
So there were memory cards and I don't remember what all it was we had connected, but it was like three different like attachments just jumbled onto the back of the controller.
poor thing. Oh
And it
lord,
makes it like bulkier, so you gotta like hold it up more.
that was a workout. That controller is weird. I love this thing. What, hold on, where is it?
Yeah, like it's just got three prongs and you only use two of them.
Yeah, here it is. Oh, that's hilarious. I think it's actually attached right now to the 64. See if I can get this. It might be a little dusty, but there it is.
Yeah, and you only hold the middle one and the right one. I don't care
Yeah.
who you are. You do not touch the left one.
Oh, when I played Mortal Kombat,
What?
when I played
You
Mortal
don't do the little
Kombat,
analog stick in the middle? What's wrong
when
with
I
you, boy?
when I played fighting games,
Hmm, that's
because
weird.
okay, I actually have a good way to actually do that because some people are like, really? I was like, yeah, because guess how I was introduced to fighting games? Through the arcade.
Oh,
I'm
you
actually
had like the
OG.
little okay.
So I know how I actually don't like a joystick when playing fighting games because the joystick in the arcade sucks for fighting games.
Yeah, but for me, like we always had the issue where like the D-pad would like stick, so it would like mess up the combos. So we just stuck to the analog anyway.
I give my the people who raised me and the people who also trained me gave me some pretty good discipline. And one of those is yes, my room is a clutter. You will not find any bad equipment. Everything is cleaned and taken care of. Like that controller is able to go now.
Bro, I'm talking about our like 10-year-old selves, like maybe not even.
Doesn't matter. That's what I was doing.
Yeah,
I was
we weren't like
it was that level where like, is that abuse or just really good discipline? Yes.
no, we were the goofy like junk food eating kids that would just stick our hand in a bag of chips. We would start munching, then we go right to
Nope.
the controller.
Nope. I only ate certain treats or certain snacks when I was around electronics. Then they were usually controlled, and I usually had a washcloth or napkin nearby to wipe my hand. Hey, never really had to replace. That's the same. I still have the same great controller and 64. It works fine. So clearly, I did something right. I also have my old Xbox, the original Xbox. I have OG PS2.
I
Yeah.
still have mine. I
I
still have
don't.
my Nintendo 64. Well, I
And I
somewhere.
right, it'd be like that. And my original NES system, and I think I have a PSP
Mhm.
and a Game Boy Color. Maybe my OG Game Boy that my grandfather gave me, and I hope I didn't lose it. But
Okay, I don't remember what it's called, but it's like a something boy or whatever. It's a little stand, and on top of it is a pair of goggles, and you look into it, and then it has like a little controller that you're holding on to, but you're just seeing what's in the goggles. And I can't remember what it's called. We still have it somewhere.
you need to find that because that's like a very niche video game item that I had
Mhm.
not heard of in a long time. Um, but co-op, I mean, everyone had been trying to do co-op for the longest time. I remember even Game Boy Color. and
Mhm.
tried doing Pokemon like trading and fighting. That was like the start of it, of like connecting two devices just through a LAN cable or like port, like what is it, host to host, um, host to host or slave to slave, whatever. Uh, those who know networking know. Those who've taken networking classes know exactly what I'm talking about. And anyone who's tried doing any sort of like online local configurations.
It was a virtual boy.
Virtual Boy,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, the OG VR boy.
Mhm.
That's great. Oh man, now I want to see it. That's great. I gotta look that up. But it co-op kind of became both really awesome with online gaming because I mean I think something that's still never been recreated was Assassin's Creed's Brotherhood Online, where it was literally a bunch of different yet the same NPCs, and everyone, including players, had the same skins as all the random NPCs that were wearing the same clothes and skins. Um, and you had to essentially find each other and assassinate each other.
And see, I
So,
never played like I played like the game, but I never played like the online.
oh, it was so cool, but it's not everyone's cup of tea because it's essentially social stealth tag.
It just sounds like Just Act Natural, but like Assassin's
No,
Creed.
no, because there's ways to like psych people out. Because there's different ways you can assassinate. Like you just jump on a roof and hit non-lethal and just land on a random civilian or the target and see
Mhm.
what the target does. You can just pop a smoke grenade and then kill your target, and that became a kind of thing. So when people started popping smoke grenades randomly, you also have the prey that's going crap, 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 and if they move, then they're caught,
Mhm.
right? Because yes, people are gonna like go ah, and they start backing away, but who actually like goes ah, and then starts moving like a human with a controller? See what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
getting them caught with that psychological attack. So that was the fun part about it. Um, when I say everyone's wearing the same skin, I mean like there's like 7 to 8 to 10 different skins
Yeah, and
that
everyone's
people
just
are carrying,
randomized or whatever.
but it's all like glorified Italian Renaissance meets more not Mardi Gras, masquerade.
Mhm.
So it's a mix of that with like different Roman city street districts. So it was pretty cool. It was pretty neat. And the fact that like you can get caught and escape. So like it was kind of fun. You would actually get to watch as one other player would just see the people like running across the roof chasing each other, and you're just like, well, I'm safe. And then you just get a knife to the back, like it's like you're obviously watching the team, like the game happening, and so the guy's like, well, that
Oh,
person's
I see.
actually looking at them. um, so that, it was a lot of fun in that regard, and I'm mad that it kind of stopped.
Mhm.
But it would have been cool to see Assassin's Creed go co-op.
Yeah.
I think they had potential with, say, Assassin's Creed Origins when they introduced two different assassins you can play as. When they introduced Evie and Jacob in Assassin's Creed Syndicate,
Syndicate, yeah.
they could have done that whole game could have been done a little better on different regards, and I'll go
Yeah.
into that someday. But you know, co-op kind of died for a while, and it's only been like an indie resurgence, really.
Yeah, because there's been like a lot of like co-op indie games that have come out, but none of them really like blew up until like the last couple of years. Like there was Chained Together, that's a co-op.
Yeah.
But it's just like smaller stuff. It wasn't any big names. It was just and like I think that was like a really good thing in a way because I don't think those indie companies would have gotten that attention that they did if
Uh,
there were a bunch of big name co-ops that were coming out.
I agree. You know, I have different like whimsical dreams, like business wise, and I would love to have a video game business where I could create Warhammer games.
Mhm.
Um, because I see how other people have done certain styles, and I'm like, and there's so many different stories and vibes and situations for Warhammer 40K that you can take a lot of these different ones and just kind of play with it. Like you could do a Detroit Become Human meets Inquisitor. You can do the Assassinorum and play Dishonored. You know, it's like pick your poison of what you actually, or not necessarily Dishonored, could be, but Dishonored you're using magic, so it's its own thing. Um, but maybe like Hitman and do it that style. Uh, but it's already like you already have ideas, and if someone goes, "Yeah, but it's a clone," it's kind of like there's nothing original ever written in music anymore. It is. It's just you're taking the core concepts and what's your interpretation of it,
Mhm.
right? So I could see co-op games. Warhammer did a good job of actually starting co-op shooters coming back. Like they have their own Left 4 Dead style game, where you play as an Ogren, which is a big, burly, dum dum boy. And that's not gonna be insulting. That's literally being like, he's a Labrador. I want to pet his head. Like he's a good boy. Like that. It's very. If you know, you know. A regular guardsman, a psyker who goes sometimes a little nuts, a person who's, I think they're ecclesiarchy, which is like, I know I'm like pausing for a second, but like they're the religious crazy zealot faction, and I'm trying to think I might be getting another game mixed up, but they're the one with a two-handed chainsaw sword that you just go to town. Like I said, like it's like Left 4 Dead, only you kind of stick to your weapon and your abilities, and each person has very different things.
Okay.
So it's not classic. Everyone grab their own favorite type of weapon, and you also get a backup melee weapon. Sometimes you get a backup melee weapon, or you're the psyker and you just kind of pop a little bit of warp in front of you and watch their heads explode. So, but it is even zombie. It's even zombie themed because they're using out of the four chaos gods Nurgle, which is pestilence, disease, undeath, essentially rot,
Mhm.
decay, finality. He has his own plagues and stuff that do different things. So already got a plague variant, and then there's literally a zombie type figurine like in his army. So he actually has zombies already in lore. You don't need to change anything. It's like, oh yeah, Nurgle Pestilence. Let's do a Left 4 Dead style game, and it took off. Like it was like, oh, this is fantastic. Like it's 100% Warhammer and its aesthetic, their characters, their voice actors, and then you have the fun of the mechanics of 40K's own variant, Left 4 Dead.
Mhm.
And when I say what is their mechanics is copying, it's swarm minions meets specialist enemies, and that's really it. But in the end, Left 4 Dead started that, so I call them all clones, just like Souls has clones, right? Dark Souls have clones. Like I'm playing Jedi Fallen Order, and then later Jedi Survivor, and they're the star. That's the Star Wars version of Dark Souls. Um, but the thing is, I've only seen people like how you describe your game knowledge on some things. I've only seen people play it or review uh what is it called? Dark Tide is the actual name of the game.
Hmm. I haven't heard
Warhammer
of it.
40K Dark Tide. Yeah. I'll send you a link. Um but yeah, it's just their Left 4 Dead variant, and I think it's a very cool world, and some people get a little tired of it sometimes. I don't. You have to balance it, like play other stuff beside it or else you get very depressed. It's not pretty. It's more of that you're going. It's like reading Edgar Allan Poe nonstop. That would be what it would be like. It's not necessarily a happy world, but it's meant to be beautiful. There's a
Okay.
difference. It is the idea of when you want to actually enjoy gothic aesthetic, like darkness and like foreboding and a sci-fi crazy no hold barred bombastic, that's 40K. That's why a lot of people like it, because nothing else doesn't quite right, and you will never find a more dedicated fan base or influencers who mostly work together. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. But I would love to do like let's get like two other people and do that, because that's a Left 4 Dead one as well. So we can do original OG Left 4 Dead and watch me get eaten by like Tickle Me Elmo, because someone's gonna mod it to be like that. We're like, look these mods. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be cursed. Um, I've seen like Tickle Me. What was it? No, zombies were cheeseburgers and Chuck E. Cheese was the hunter. And so he would just leap death on you, just a Chuck E. Cheese ripping your chest open. It's the funniest thing. Oh Lord. Or Ronald McDonald as the tank that would just run in and grab you and just start slamming you into the ground. So funny. No, like I love those games. They were fun. They were their own version because co-op games sometimes are a hard challenge Like you're actually like you said, there are some co-op games, which is what we're gonna play,
Mhm.
where it is a legitimately the game is trying to make it hard.
Mhm.
Like is its core dynamic trying to be a you have to work together to figure this out, or it is a solid challenge. Sometimes a co-op game just needs to be slightly challenging, which can be Left 4 Dead. Because you can turn the difficulty down on that and just have fun with the mechanics of the game and just I don't want to say, mess around and be trolls essentially. I was going to use a different term, but I'm like that's not going to sound good. So I'm not going to say that. Um but yeah, no, they'll just be trolling and just be messing around and like cracking jokes and like holding a live grenade was like, hey mom, should I eat this? I found it. Like that kind of dumb stuff that you do when you're not under threat from an AI source. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
When you're like, oh yeah, hunter, 5 shots. You're like, okay, yeah, we're not in danger. We're fine. And hunters aren't necessarily hard to kill, but they're not easy either. Um, I don't know the future of co-op games. I know as we become more digitally divided, I think, like you said, there's a resurgence of it. I'm going to wait for corpos to try to harness on this, like to try to grab some of the market. And don't get me wrong, there's stuff like Call of Duty that's done well-ish, and I would actually give their new game credit for controversial alone, like or aside, their new movement system is definitely what is the word? Innovative. Like they tried something new. And so I have
Mhm.
to give them credit. They're not just churning out the same thing over and over again. I mean, they are, but they aren't. They're trying their best with a formula that's kind of stuck in them. Um, but that's really it on like co-op slash multiplayer games that have stayed the test of time when within like the mainstream.
Yeah.
It's all been going indie and indie and indie. And like think about it, Counter Strike is still one of the top multiplayer shooters for esports in the world. It's like the main game, and that game is ancient, and they just redid it and called it Counter Strike 2, and now everyone just calls it Counter Strike because they just like, oh, it's not there. What's new? We
It's
just
just
fixed
Counter
everything.
Strike.
We just fixed everything without all your mods. We just did all of that, and so here you go.
Yeah. And then
Um,
there's like Gary's mod too, which like you can do so many things because it's sandbox, and there's a lot of co-op like lobbies and servers that you
yeah,
can play in.
it's really turned into find your friends online, which isn't terrible. Like it's nice, especially with when COVID happened, or if you're living in a rural environment and there you don't have a lot of options. Um,
It's very isolating at the same time.
it's very isolating at the same time. Like I can't wait to actually move and build a studio and invite people over who are both podcast or RPG or oh yeah, you coming over. You co-hosting. I don't know what you're talking about. Uh and then also like wargaming. Like I also got gifted and bought Warhammer 40K knights. So we have to build and paint those. But yeah, eventually invite people over who have armies and we can like record that as well. So that's gonna be fun. But it's kind of like we've gone backwards to find our entertainment.
Mhm.
And I don't mean that as a bad thing because I've always found a natural appeal to tabletop RPGs actually on the tabletop, right? There's always something you said that's thank God people are doing this over Discord and thank God Baldur's Gate exists, but at the same time there's something to be said of actually sitting around and actually
Enjoying
being
each
in the
other's
presence.
presence.
It really is different. Like there is something psychologically or spiritually there that you will not get through a
It's a
digital
different
medium.
type of connection that you get to make with people.
Yeah, it really is. There's a lot of more trust because you're also not able to just okay bye and just hang up the phone. Um, hang up the phone, but that was the best way to describe that because it feels like that. You just drop a call.
Yeah.
Um, but co-op games, especially couch co-op, I felt always brought people even more together because yes, tabletop RPGs is a lot more storyline intergrained with emotions that you can tie in with the people that are sitting next to you. But co-op gaming, video game wise, is you are facing challenges in real time,
Mhm.
because it's not like you can just, okay, we're talking about this, and then the DM goes, okay, guys, I need an answer. Like, what's going on? No, when you're playing a video game, you have to make split decisions on the fly. A game ain't gonna wait for you unless it's turn based. But
Or unless you have a pause button.
I mean, yes and no. Uh, but that's the thing with online co-op is that you don't
You
have a
don't
pause
get to
button.
pause, yep.
Yeah, so
Well,
they got
so it depends on the game, because like,
sure.
that's especially for, like, co-op competitive, but,
Yeah.
like, stuff like It Takes Two and Split Fiction, if one person pauses, it'll pause for both people,
Oh, okay.
and the person who paused it has to be the one to unpause as well.
So I think especially because those are made to be co-op.
It's designed for you to guys to be at the same place at the same level. Like, there's,
Right.
like,
I think
areas where you can ride rails to get to a destination and you take 2 different rails, but it's designed so the paths take the same amount of time, so you get to the same place at the same time.
that's interesting. That's really cool game design.
It
All right.
is.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Um yeah, we kind of went a little bit off tangent all like here and there,
What
but I
don't
think we did
we?
fine. Like it's our normal selves. Yeah, we kind of just we didn't even like plan this. We kind of just talked like, you want to do one about co-op gaming? I'm like, yeah, sure. Um, yeah, they like, whatever. But we just kind of wanted to wing it and see how that played out. And obviously, I explained this before, for more sensitive issues and things that are more like controversial slash dramatic, affect people's lives and jobs and like the industry, and when we have more serious topics.
And
Yeah,
it's
no, we're having a meeting and going over information
yeah,
first
like,
and research.
it's really nice not having, like, specific talking points and just being able to talk about what we want.
Yeah, it is.
It feels
We can
free.
yeah, we're free. We also can run into it, like fly into a tree. Um, we say the wrong info, that might happen by accident, but it's never a lie. It's more of, oh crap, we thought it was this, my bad, we will correct it. Um, so that's gonna happen ish no matter what, because we're human, mistakes are made. But when we're doing this free stuff, it's more of just like, yeah, let's talk about just the hobbies
It's
themselves.
things that
Or
we're really passionate about and we really enjoy, which is why we can rant and rave about them.
exactly. While when we talk about serious things of the hobbies we enjoy, we will do research and stuff, because that's more about, well, other people really. That's really what it boils down to. It's affecting another person, even like vicariously or corporately. We gotta do our due diligence, because that if it's the focus of that, like we might mention something offhand of something, like I just mentioned how Cyberpunk bombed. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to be like, I feel bad for the people at the low end who are going, this isn't ready yet, please don't release it. Like that wasn't me saying everybody there was bad, but you should already assume I'm not saying that. So when we talk about very sensitive issues, it's going to be needed to be said, because it's going to be, well, sensitive. But if we're just talking about the hobby, we're just gonna be like, oh yeah, everyone and their mother know that Cyberpunk bombed. Anyone who denies it is like, what, were you living in a rock? Like, what happened? In a rock? Under a rock? Anyway, um,
Okay, Patrick.
thanks, football. Um, so I want to see more co-op options. The downside, so like, there's an upside in upside, downside, all that shit. But it's true that you can't have your cake and eat it too. Um, think of it this way: you are really excited about these games, and you are 100% valid for that, because these are games that specifically are focused just on co-op. That is literally the driving point, and so they are going to have really good co-op,
Mm.
right? But sometimes you have games that have co-op and they take away from the single player, and sometimes you have games that are single player, but because they want to add a co-op, they take a little away from the single player. And that could be storyline, lore line, like, literally making it like going from a character driven story to a nameless NPC, because sometimes that happens with like Far Cry 5.
Mhm.
You went from a named character that has actually like a personality and a story driven and like a learning curve. Even if it's just verbally, it connects you to the world. But then when they made you an MP, like, thank you, deputy, for helping us, I'm just like, oh, this is so cringe. I can't. Oh, who am I? No, it's fine. Like when it works, but you're taking away from that aspect, because you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't have like really good lore dumps and also do like insert yourself into the game,
Mhm.
right? Um, that's where I think games that let players play characters, not players play themselves, have some advantage for the like I think the longevity of the game. Like very few exceptions of faceless I'm making myself games actually
Instead of putting
make it.
yourself into someone else's shoes.
Well, yeah, it's not just that. You're not wrong. It's more of you can it's more of you don't have to think about yourself and you can just be like, okay, this is the story we're
Oh,
in.
like you
It's
don't have
not
to
me
base it
trying to
off of
put my
what you would do. You're just letting the character be the character.
exactly. And sometimes that's more beautiful. Like playing Jack and Daxter, I'm not going, oh yeah, that's what I would do. Totally. No, they're insane. Or Laura Croft, like, oh yeah, that's totally something I would do. No, why are you doing this? Go home. Like, um, it's it's fun being a character because you get to escape with that character,
Mhm.
right? It's why we read novels and that we have first person perspective, right? Or characters that are even in third person writing that we have appeal to them being the protagonist of the story, right? When co-op games are able to do that right, so a good example being Gears of War, I mentioned them already. That's another thing they did well is that they kind of set up everyone's, at least with the two characters you played, had very organic character reveals
Mhm.
because it wasn't a core thing, but the fact that they kind of hit it through little bits of dialogue with all the characters and themselves, you kind of learned organically who they are. You didn't need to be like, oh yeah, you're the prisoner. Oh, you're the rescuer. Okay, you meet, now you fight bad guys. You're these nameless guys fighting bad guys. Like, okay, how long do I want to play this? Or do I actually want to care about the characters and actually learn more about them and try to help them survive and see where their story goes, right? And you can replay that over and over again because the same reason that we rewatch TV shows and movies that we root for these characters. So there's always exceptions of like classics, like everyone their mother is gonna want to play Mario Brothers, right? But you don't go, what's the big backstory of Mario's ancient family secret? They did that, people would just laugh. They're like, not the point. He's just you don't need to make everything a backstory. Um, so like I said, it'll be the devil on my shoulder for both. I really hope this actually starts like invigorating more indie games to start going out of the box because it's been a little slow where the market will go really well for indie games and then some bad controversy will happen with certain studios being controlled by bigger studios with release. I'm not going to name names on that one because I feel bad for the company. But I will shit on Sony. It was Sony's fault. These are the big mega ones. It's one of the big ones. So I can always just say it's this. Okay, well that doesn't narrow it down. Narrows it down to a fourth at most. Um, but yeah, no, I think a lot more creative artists are now helping each other too. I've seen a lot of Discord chat. I've seen a lot of like YouTube shorts of people in the gaming industry actually giving tips to people online with Twitch chat on inspiring them to move forward. I think that's very healthy. This is something that we have needed. We needed. This is not just our country, but just the world. Is that we need to feel more invigorated to make things again. And I think that's been a problem. Is that we're very terrified, and we need to kind of go, okay, what can I do about it, or what can I make that be fun? What
Mhm.
idea do I have that I want to pop out? It's not always for money. Like, don't do it for money. Do it because you
Because
want,
you like it.
because you have a cool idea and you want to see that go through.
Mhm.
The money will follow, or it won't, and that stinks.
At
But
least you had fun along the way.
you had fun along the way, and don't regret it. You know. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, it'd be really cool to kind of like do like a co-op marathon like every week or something. We like do some crazy like it could be a mix between like racing and shooting and like puzzle solving. It'd be kind of fun to do that. I remember also randomly Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. There was a random co-op feature in like one of the side quests.
Was there?
Yeah, it was the long romance between one character and another. And I'll let you. We're gonna talk about that after this recording, whether we record it or not. That'll be for the bonus Patreon because I ain't putting that on Spotify or anything. They can pay for that one because that's juicy. My hot take on that one. But yes, there were two characters that you kind of worked to get married. At a certain point, there is a puzzle section, and there's two hallways, and you play as Link and this character. So they made it single player where you can do it just by yourself, but you can also attach a controller, and it's the 64, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a very simple input output system.
Yeah.
So once you attach a second controller, it will go, okay, what stage are we on? Look for this script that we can add in for this specific character, because this character is already the same size as Link and moving with the same sort of body movements. You can already tell this is like, oh yeah, this is a copy. This
Mm-hmm.
is a copy, but it also is like its own thing. It works, and it has its own different stuff because Link has a sword and got like bombs and things. He can fight things. The other character does not. So the other character stuff is more maze or puzzles, but it's timed. And it's
Okay.
timed like before you're like rushing to do this all before the apocalypse. Yeah, yeah. Like Majora's Mask is its own like, oh my gosh, yeah. I always tell people sleep on Majora's Mask. When people go, oh yeah, Witcher 3, the side quests are almost more enjoyable than the main quest. They're like the side quests could be their game, and I'm like, yeah, that's Majora's Mask.
Mm-hmm.
That's 100% Majora's Mask. They did it first, and I won't say better because they're classic Nintendo 64. It's kind of limited, but the concept was done very, very, very well.
Okay.
Um, because there was a lot of side quests that you could keep track of because you always had to restart you had 3 days to kind of figure this out, and you got to slow down time, not as in like in combat, like there's a visual representation.
Yeah.
It's that the clock stops moving as fast.
Okay. So it just slows down.
It just slows down,
Okay.
making you not as stressed. So you like going through a major dungeon, you don't have to worry about the clock,
Mm-hmm.
right? It like they gave you that pretty early. But it doesn't matter because the clock still runs down. And every day things do pass. So like the first day, all these characters that are side characters, no matter where they are, have a schedule. And what do they do the next day? A different schedule because it's planned on that night. So
Hmm.
first day, then it's the first night of the first day, then it's the second day, then it's the first, and then it's the night of the second day, and then it's the third day, then it's the night of the third day, and then by midnight that night, the moon comes crashing down.
All hell breaks loose.
Well, it's kind of over, and so you kind of have to solve everything or what you want to solve by that time.
Okay.
So what's fun about that is that you have to limit what you're doing per
Based on
loadout
what you want to get done.
based off what you would get done, because you can just go, you always go back to that first minute,
Okay.
but you keep all the equipment upgrades. You lose all your ammo and your money, but you keep your notebook and your equipment
Okay.
and any spells you learn, such as like changing forms, which that's its own thing. I'm not going to get into that, but the clock is what we're talking about. And so they had it to where the side quests rely on what day and like specific, not if it's day or night, but what day,
Which
what
one?
night, what day, what night.
Gotcha.
Like it's very specific on that. And I found I was like, that was taking a mechanic and really cranking out the content for that without skipping a beat. Like there's side quests where you recreate a long lost jazz band using the different forms of like Zelda, there's sentient creatures that are
Yeah.
just like instead of elves, it's Zora, fish people, that kind of thing. So you have mass, you can transform to different ones and have different instruments. So when you're human, you just have an ocarina, which is the famous instrument.
Yeah.
If you're a duca, which is a wood person, you have this big wooden like multiple like bells trombone. Like it's really cute. The Gorgon has bongos that hits on different notes, but it's four bongos, and you can play that. And then the Zora has a guitar,
Oh,
so you can actually get them all lined up and play a song inside this jazz band, which is a quest to actually get this all
I
done with the
love
right
that.
people in order to inspire them to not be depressed about the end of the world.
Bro, I
It's
love that.
own thing. Yeah, the game is so much like childhood therapy hiding in a video game. It's so fun. Um, and so like the loved ones, it's always like bittersweet lessons. So like the one where you're playing co-op, it's all about getting this person to be married to the person they love, even though they're being denied by who they are. Um, and they I think they describe it as families, but trust me, there is an aesthetic there that does not fit. And I'll mention it after we stop recording. So That aside, if you just chalk it up to Nintendo not being that, we'll say, aware of what potentially that could look like, and we just give them the benefit of the doubt of it's just like, anime characters being anime characters,
Mhm.
right? And I'm not bashing on anime, it's just a general like different vibe of different aesthetic that could be um allowed and okay. That's not tied to the bad thing, but we'll get um but it's the bittersweet story about it's still worth spending those last few seconds with the person you love with all of that work into it, even though you only have a few seconds. So it's that kind of bittersweet lesson story of that,
Mhm.
almost the Mr. Freeze and Nora Freeze vibe of that, of like, oh, if only for a little bit, that's fine, that's worth it. It's so sad and beautiful. Um, but then you got like, the bar one that helps with people's depression. You have the ranch where you save a little girl from being taken by aliens and getting mind wiped at the horse ranch. Yeah, that's a thing. I'm
Okay.
not kidding. 50s style aliens, UFOs come down, and you have to shoot the aliens with a bow and arrow while riding your horse to stop them from going into the bar to kidnap the little girl.
Okay.
That's the second. That's the second night. Yeah, yeah, that's fun. It's some weird, and some people are like, that's a main quest thing. I'm like, that's a hybrid. It's one of those things where it's a side quest that actually lets you get back onto the main story. It's you getting your horse,
Okay.
right? But it acts more like a side quest when it comes to learning really how you can only like the road is blocked until the morning of the third day, and when you go there, the daughter's already brain dead,
Oh.
right? So you have to figure out how to blow up that rebel in the way
To get to the point where you can save
so
her.
it limits you. Remember, this is 64 here, right here. Like this is basic upgrade mechanic storyline limiters, which stop you from progressing too fast.
Okay.
So you have to actually do enough.
Experience the thing.
Yeah, you have to literally beat the second dungeon, I think, before you can even do a side quest to get the bomb power to actually open up that ravine to get there beforehand.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you got to work on like getting the horse. You got to do a race against like Luigi because Luigi and Mario are definitely the ranch owners. Tell me I'm wrong. That's literally been a running joke. It's always a short guy wearing red overalls with white
And then
shirt,
a tall one with green.
and then there's a tall one with green who's actually more of like, we'll call him a miser, a penny pincher. That's a very PC way of saying it. But yeah, um, definitely got that like horse hand swindler style, like betting man who rigs the bet kind of thing. That's Luigi, and you have to get your horse from him. So that's like a whole thing. But yeah, depending on what night and day you go to, you have different special things the game was also including. Like I said, there's a co-op feature. There's also like a turret section, and then you have the patrolling the perimeter, which is essentially a gun, because your bow and arrow, how you're shooting that is Legolas would be impressed with the speed you're. It's like pop, 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 pop. I'm like, I don't think that's how your arm works, dude. I don't think that is possible. But it's just clicking a launch button on a 64 controller. Um, but I love when games have that availability co-op, and I feel sad when they don't pull it off. I am looking forward to modding being more easily available for people who have issues with like configuring things without worrying about their computer crashing, because
Yeah.
that's really why I don't do it. Is like I'm really worried about like corrupting what a machine. I only have limited resources. I can't risk it, you
Hmm.
know. Um, just because I kind of run everything off of a few computers, including like businesses and you know my livelihood and my entertainment that keeps me sane. I don't want to risk that just because I want a mod on a different game,
Yeah.
right? So, but I'm hoping that there'll be an easier system implemented because I mean, Steam has a great job with the workshop. They do a fantastic job with that.
Hmm.
But so I want something that's a little more almost third party that is so simplified it's childproof, right? Um, And until that day, I'm kind of just gonna be very careful unless it's a rigged way to do it. And so that's why you don't see me play a lot of co-op games, because a lot of people like configuring all their mods together to do that kind of thing. Um,
Yeah, like when me and my friends we play Lethal Company and we play it modded. And so we all have to have the same mods, so we use the same mod launcher. And it also makes it difficult to like go into other lobbies where they're also modding because like we don't know what mods they're running. Like we just have
e-
our set.
exactly. And I feel like there's always going to be a layer of like, hacker space, third party. You have to know the Discord and you have to know the people in the thing and be invited firsthand. But I want there to be more of an easier way that's more regular, that is how Steam does it in general. Like I want all games to have that, like, okay, mod market, and it's not to monopolize the market, but more so of configuration, like where to find those files, what to join, like that kind of thing. Like a general info space when you click on what mods they're using, and a easy wizard to set it up.
Hmm.
Um so that's why it just, even mods on how to like make the game work better,
Yeah.
you have to have those. And I realized, oh, even just finding a regular game to play with without modding, I was like, oh, I kind of suck. And people were like, how is this guy in IT and doesn't know how to mod? And I was like, I probably can figure it out. I just am paranoid about messing up my not like hybrid system, which I say hybrid because it's not just for gaming. If I just had a gaming system, then that would be very easy. That would be fine. I'd be completely chill with that. That is its own thing, though. And I just am not flush with cash. So I have a PlayStation and I have my old consoles and I have this computer, and we are going to do the most with it. I have a capture card, so eventually I'll be able to like grab stuff from other systems that are dated. Because you can just record, that's how a lot of people get their like
Console
streams running.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, console stuff. But yeah, I'm looking forward to co-op games and more interaction with people, and I want couch co-op gaming to come back.
Absolutely.
I think they need to bring that back, and I think there could be fun ways to do it.
Hmm.
Even like having rotating screens or something like that would be kind of neat. Like do
Yeah.
something wacky like that. But all right, guys, we're going to stop it here. Please check out all of our links in order to check on when we're doing stuff. This is obviously a slow process, but this is second filming, so baby steps,
Mm.
and things are going to start going better these next 2 months. We're going to get things rolling where we're going to start doing streams and actually game night. So y'all just keep tabs on my social, like mousepad social media, and then you'll see something. You'll see something pop up. That's the best outro I'm going to get right now. So everyone just be safe out there, live easy, keep it cheesy. Peace.